those moments when you're hanging out with friends and the conversation's flowing, you're really engaged, and you come up with a game-changing idea for a business or a social movement. It's the kind of idea that makes your heart race just imagining what could happen. How many of you have had that kind of an idea? All right. So how many of you walked out of that conversation and made it happen? A couple. I won't judge the rest of you. So if you didn't, why not? We have a lot of great reasons not to do things. I can't quit my job. I've got to support family. I'm not qualified for this sort of thing. I don't have the right connections. As humans, we all have these limitations. They're baked into our life. So how do we keep these limitations from getting in the way of our great ideas? About 10 years ago, I was a volunteer English teacher in Patagonia, the very southern part of Chile. And while I was there was a proposal to dam 2 of the major rivers in the region for power. It was really controversial, but nobody was talking to the people that lived along the rivers in the areas that were vulnerable to flooding and damage. So my friends and I, in one of these conversations, decided, why not us? We're going to find these people, interview them, make a documentary, and get their voice heard. But there was one major obstacle. We didn't have transportation. And we had to get to people way off the beaten path. The buses in the region were not frequent enough, and they didn't go where we needed to go. And we thought about maybe we could pool our money together and rent a vehicle or buy something cheap, but we've been volunteering for a year. The numbers didn't add up. So it almost doesn't happen. And then we decide that we're gonna ride bikes and float a raft down one of these rivers. It's the adventure of a lifetime. And we've never made a documentary before, and we've never traveled by bicycle. And doing both at the same time, we discovered, was exhausting and really trying at times. But the magical and unexpected moments that happen while we're on the road make the documentary what it is. Now, none of us are athletes, and we've just survived our first winter in Patagonia, so we've been living off of wine and cheese for the past 8 months or so, and it's really difficult to travel unpaved roads on a bicycle. But that hardship, it informs our documentary. The people we're trying to reach are pioneers. They're homesteading on the far reaches of their country. And when we show up dirty, tired, and hungry on our bicycles, they connect with us. They understand our struggle, and they respect us. And so they open up to us, and they even help us. The documentary becomes something truly meaningful. So what I learned from this experience is that our limitations actually point us towards our greatest opportunities. They enable us to do the thing better. If you want to do something really meaningful, look at your limitations and start your work right there. So 10 years later, I return to Massachusetts, and I connect with my friend Dena. She's out there somewhere. And Dena and I, we both majored in art. We were never aspiring entrepreneurs, but we reconnect. And again, we're having these exciting, inspiring conversations. And we notice that there's a gap in the world around us. We're wondering, do strangers even talk to each other anymore? Where are the communities that supported us when we were in our teens and our 20s? So through a series of these conversations, we decided to start a co-working space. Does everybody know what a co-working space is? Co-working, or co-working space, is a large, usually open floor plan shared office space where people who would normally work from home or in a coffee shop or in a small office pay a monthly membership to use the facilities, but also to get plugged into a community. And Dena and I decide that New Bedford needs a co-working space. And since we're humans and this is life, there are several really good reasons why we should not do this. First of all, we don't have any money. Secondly, we have no experience. We have no business doing this sort of thing. And thirdly, a lot of people tell us that New Bedford is a struggling city, and our business will never survive here. And when we look at these reasons why not, what we find is our action plan. So we start off with no money, not even enough to buy one desk from IKEA. We immediately have to launch into a crowdfunding campaign. Crowdfunding is when you source multiple small donations from a large group of people. But it's not so much about raising money as it is about finding your community. Because right away, we had to get out on the street and find people like you and convince you that New Bedford needs a co-working space, and we are the team to do it. And once we get you to pony up your $10, $20, $100 to our workspace that doesn't even exist yet, you're invested in our success. It's typical to give away prizes when you do crowdfunding, and we didn't have anything to give away. So we had to get creative. We invited 12 contributors to Dena's home, and we harvested vegetables from her garden and cooked them a 4-course meal. The people that sat down at this table didn't know each other. And when they sat down and started talking, connections were formed and relationships were made. And so we realized, yes, we're onto something. We had to get creative in a number of other ways, so we made a lot of silly videos. This is us dancing on the roof of the Elm Street garage, just a couple blocks away. I'm not going to explain this. It pretty much is what it looks like. I challenge you to find a seasoned entrepreneur that would employ such tactics to raise money. But it's all we have, and so we have to be creative. And this creativity gets baked into our culture. It's a part of what we do at Groundwork today. So because we don't have any money, we're forced to get really clear on who we are and what we want to do, right from the beginning. This is Dena in the very first iteration of Groundwork. We have no experience, right? We have no business doing this. Neither of us have run a business. We don't have MBAs. We have what you might call beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is a phrase coined by a well-known Zen teacher, Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. He said that in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. So with our beginner's mind, we realize that everybody knows more than we do. And so we go around asking people for help, because the people around us, they are the experts in starting a business and running a co-working space and the particularities of New Bedford. And it turns out that asking for help is a lot like showing up dirty, tired, and hungry on your bicycle. And so people relate to us and they help us. We also realize that being new entrepreneurs helps us to get inside the mind of our future customers. So because we don't know what we're doing, because we're starting out, we're uniquely qualified to run this sort of business. New Bedford. New Bedford is a mid-sized city with a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunity. Dena and I love New Bedford. we wouldn't want to start our business anywhere else. But there are a lot of naysayers. People say things like, a co-working space will never survive in New Bedford. We've been waiting for change in New Bedford for years. It never happens. We see these sentiments like an open invitation. It's like calling us to do something here. You see, the challenges in a city like ours make it prime for doing something new. You can really make your mark here. And frankly, nobody in Boston or New York or Los Angeles really cares about two women who want to start a co-working space and don't have any startup capital. But here in New Bedford, we feel like the whole city is behind us. The doors are wide open. So because we're in New Bedford, we're successful. Because we're working to address challenges here, our business matters. Because we take a chance on this city, it takes a chance on us. So our business is successful because of New Bedford, not in spite of it. And like that, our little city, or our little business, becomes a community focal point. So this is what Groundwork looked like when we first got our new space. Oops. And that's what it looks like today. See, we don't just work at Groundwork. We listen to each other. We support each other. We have potlucks together. We laugh together. We get to learn from the perspectives of people working next to us who have a completely different worldview and set of experiences. We're a family. We're a social movement. And we're a community. These are some of the people who make Groundwork what it is today. I can't imagine my life without these people in it. And I would guess that a lot of them would say the same thing. You see, the thing that I've learned is that when we work with our limitations, it actually makes us better people. It makes our lives richer and worth living. Because the relationships that you form and the strength that you'll build is far more transformative than accomplishing the goal or getting the degree or the title. Imagine how different our lives could be if we looked at our limitations and looked at them rather than why not, but as how. How many problems could we address right here in this city or in our country? So the next time you have that conversation with your friends, maybe it's during your break today, maybe it's when you go home, look for that great idea that gets your heart to race. And then write down all your reasons why not. And turn each why not into your how. I promise you that that very limitation will enable you to do the thing better. And you might even find that your life and the world around you is profoundly transformed. Thank you.